It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Did you watch every NHL game last night? Of course not. That's impossible. So Locked On brings you Locked On Game to Game NHL. With Locked On Game to Game NHL, we take you inside every arena to every game and give you the Locked On local experts insight. And by the end, it's as though you were at every game. Find Locked On Game to Game NHL on the Locked On NHL feed and follow today. Locked On Game to Game NHL, taking you to every arena for every game with the local experts. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Buckle up, hockey heads. It's about to get very serious in here, and that means your fantasy hockey team is about to be primed for success. We're breaking all of the wild news in the NHL down on today's episode. Let's get right to it and get this money.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
My, oh my, hockey fans, this is a wild time to be alive. And thank you for tuning in to your source for fantasy hockey news. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Steele and Flip, a Wednesday episode that might be one for the books, people, because we have trades coming to fast and furious. We have NHL news coming out of almost every single team in the NHL right now, and teams jockeying for position. Trades from the Edmonton Oilers, a lot of trades from the Toronto Maple Leafs, everything in between, Steele. And oh wait, Patrick Kane is now a New York Ranger. Holy Steele, this is a jam-packed episode. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Steele, we have to get to big-time bets. That's the anchor of this show. That's what you and I have been doing. And if you've been paying attention, your boy Flip here, Uncle Flip, old man Flip's got a few picks on the roll here. So you want to stay tuned for big-time bets. But my goodness me, we're going to be talking trade deadline all day here, my friend. But it's happening ahead of the deadline, isn't it? And I'm going to have you take it away because I know you have the notes outlined for our direction of the show. So I don't get too far off the rails. But we got the Oilers, we got the Leafs, we got the New York Rangers, and we got a whole lot of other things in between. Take us away on this trade deadline extravaganza, because regardless of what position you're in your fantasy league right now, these moves and these breakdowns from us today are going to have impacts on your team.
Yeah, I've been on my phone for 5 straight hours. It seems like trades are just coming in. The dominoes have fallen down. It has taken place. All the trades, it seems like, have come in the last 5 hours. So it's been a very, very busy day in the NHL. I am super excited to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs, Kyle Dubas, and the trades that he was able to accomplish today. 3 massive trades, in my opinion. I'm very excited to debate the 2 trades of the Edmonton Oilers as well. But the big news that kind of started it all off today was Patrick Kane being traded to the New York Rangers from the Chicago Blackhawks in exchange for a 2023 second-round pick. That can become a first-rounder and a fourth-round pick. There is also a third team that will be included in this trade that will most likely be retaining some of Patrick Kane's salary and acquiring some picks.
The Arizona Coyotes, actually.
So Arizona Coyotes in on the deal. They're usually the team that hops in on one of these deals as
retaining
well.
25% of Kane's salary.
The deal itself hasn't been finalized. There's still a lot of incoming pieces, I think.
True.
But Patrick Kane is a New York Ranger, and I just got to give congratulations, some props to the amazing job by Chris Drury and the front office of the New York Rangers for going out, getting Tarasenko, going out and getting Patrick Kane. No matter what, the team is shaping up magnificently right now. The team looks deadly. I know you and I were talking about Shesterkin and the poor play he's brought the past couple of weeks or even the last month, but even so, the team looks like a legitimate threat. And based off of what they did last year, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals, I think this team is more set up for success with the trades they've made. I think the happiest person of all has to be Artemi Panarin right now, though, because he's got his best friend back over on the team in Vladimir Tarasenko. Then he's got the best teammate he's ever had in Patrick Kane. And you already know that Patrick Kane slotting in on the right wing, on the side of Vincent Trocheck and playing back with Artemi Panarin. That line is going to have instant chemistry because Trocheck is one of those guys that can kind of play with anybody. You just got to facilitate and slot him in somewhere. Man, this team is looking unbelievable. To me, they are the number one threat to Boston, to Carolina. I'm looking at this team, and before I hand it over to you on the Patrick Kane and what you think about this does a lot for Patrick Kane fantasy-wise. I traded for Patrick Kane
most definitely.
3 months ago. Back in early December, I traded Roman Josi in a 14th round pick for Patrick Kane and a second round pick. Looking at that now, I think I absolutely stole that trade. I got a second round pick for next year's draft and a guy who I was betting on that was going to get traded. And the fact that he's still on a heater right now. He's got 7 goals, 10 points in his last 5 games. He's playing great. He's going to be paired up with his old teammate in Panarin. We know the chemistry there. Patrick Kane, he was a borderline keeper for next year. Now I'm keeping him 100%, especially if he re-signs with the Rangers.
Health would obviously be a factor potentially, but everything else you're saying is lining up exactly with just how well Patrick Kane has been performing. And this is just what Patrick Kane does. He steps up in the big moments. There's not a lot of players, Steele, over the last 15, 20 years that are as showtime, show off, and prove me moments. The man's got a cup-winning goal on his stick, and there's not a lot of players that play with the confidence of Patrick Kane. That's a caveat that obviously doesn't always reign true in fantasy leagues in terms of production, but in terms of what this might do for the New York Rangers lineup, I think that's the cherry on top. Is this man is bringing his winning caliber, cup rings, and confidence. The last caveat I want to say with this Patrick Kane news, because it's absolutely massive, but we've got Edmonton Oilers trades. We got Toronto Maple Leafs trades to break down. They're going to have implications for your fantasy team. You know, I love saying that. It's on repeat because it's that time of year, people. Big time bets. But honestly, Steele, I just want to see what the Rangers can do now because they've been a little bit, for me, how good we expected them to be this year. And Shesterkin was not the angle that I thought was going to be letting them down this year. And he has been at times. It's just how good can they be now? Let's see what they can do. Are they going to come out and absolutely now steamroll down the stretch, or are there going to be growing pains with a lot of big names now in the mix? Because now Kane and Tarasenko are there, and just because the Leafs are making moves doesn't mean chemistry happens all the time. Although you have to think, Panarin, Kane, Tarasenko, they're lining this up for a big-time offensive output, and I think it's about to happen for the Rangers in a big way.
Look, I don't think there's growing pains whatsoever because you already know what you got on the top line. You've got Mika Zibanejad, you've got Chris Kreider, and you've got Vladimir Tarasenko.
How about that third line? Two top 5 picks.
This is what I'm saying right now is the New York Rangers, to me, after this trade, become the biggest threat to win the Stanley Cup right now because the top line, you already know what you got. You got Zibanejad, you got Chris Kreider, and Vladimir Tarasenko on that line. Then the second line's got Panarin and Kane, who you already know have chemistry, and Vincent Trocheck, who, again, can slot in anywhere that you put him, and he's played great with Panarin so far. Then you've got the young guns line, Philip Hedl, Alexis Lafreniere, and Capo Caco. Then you look at the bottom line as well. You got Tyler Mott, Barclay Goodrow, and Jimmy Vesey. It's plain and simple how great and successful each line is going to be. Back then, you've got Jacob Trouba, Adam Fox,
one of the
John
best
Gray
top
Miller,
4
Schneider.
blue liners in the game, too.
The team right now is set up for success. The big question mark, like you said, is obviously Igor Shesterkin because of his poor play lately. But even now, the Rangers are top 3 in the Metropolitan Division. They've been way better in the second half of the season than early in the first half. And back to the Patrick Kane situation and why I think everything is going to go so smoothly is Patrick Kane doesn't have to be the guy that everyone looks at now. He doesn't have that pressure on his shoulders like he did for the last 2.5 years with Chicago because you've got Panarin, Kreider, Zibanejad, and Fox. And the chemistry that he's already played with Panarin.
Balanced attack.
The balance is perfect right now. That's why I'm shouting out the organization in the front office for the Rangers because they're doing a fantastic job getting the right guys. Again, Don't know exactly what the finalized deal is with all three teams in, but they've gotten the job done, and they've setting up this team to win the Stanley Cup this season. So congratulations to them to getting the last kind of like star power guy in Patrick Kane.
The Eastern Conference, it's an arms race, people, and it's not even done.
There's probably crazy.
I haven't looked at my phone in about 17 and a half minutes, so there's probably a couple more deals. The Toronto Maple Leafs are making trades like they're about to go out of style. Kyle Dubas, we need to talk about it, Steele. We're going to talk about the Edmonton Oilers. Oh my goodness, this Eastern Conference first round. There are going to be a lot of teams left on the outside looking in. The Western Conference is wide open. Let's talk about both of them. I said wide open. I like that better than wide open. Let's get to our friends from Indeed. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Here we go, Steele. No matter how the last game went, anytime you take the field, you got a shot at greatness. Give your team the best shot at winning by recruiting more MVPs with Indeed. If you're hiring, you need Indeed, because Indeed is hiring the best people out there that you can attract, interview, and also add to your team all in one place. And Indeed is the only job site you're guaranteed to find qualified applications that meet your must-have requirements, or else you don't pay. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites hoping to find candidates with the right skills, you need one powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. That's Indeed. Indeed partners with you on every step of the hiring process. Find great talent through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match assessments and virtual interviews. Steele, this is a very ironic ad read for your boy who might be hitting up Indeed for some future help for his own career. And look, Indeed brings you the instant matches. And as soon as you have the short list of candidates with resumes on Indeed that match your job description, you can invite them to apply right away. Plus, you only pay for quality applications that meet your must-have requirements. Now, you can start hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. The offer is valid through March 31st. Go to Indeed.com/lockedon to claim your $75 credit before March 31st. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
I just learned Discover credit cards do something pretty awesome. At the end of your first year, they automatically double all the cash back you've earned. That's right. Everything you earned doubled. All the cash back from eating at your favorite soup dumpling restaurant doubled. All the cash back from the trip where you sort of learned how to snowboard also doubled. And the best part, you don't have to do anything ridiculous to get it. Nope, Discover does it automatically. Seriously though, see terms and check it out for yourself at discover.com/match.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We appreciate all the fans out there tuning in for today's episode. Make sure you hit the sub button, hit the follow button so you don't miss out on any of the content. Also, make sure you're locked in to the NHL deadline that is this Friday, March 3rd. Join us live on the Locked On NHL YouTube channel from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time as Locked On NHL hosts break down the biggest deals from across the league. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Flip, we are also breaking down some major trades in today's episode. I don't know, maybe like 8 trades came in. It seems like in the span of an hour, it was just left, right, and center, trade after trade.
Yes.
And we got to talk about a team, the Edmonton Oilers. It looks like they kicked the can on Jakob Chychrun discussions. Obviously not going after him at this point. It doesn't seem like. But the Edmonton Oilers made 2 trades today. We'll start off with the most recent one. Edmonton Oilers acquire Mattias Ekholm from the Nashville Predators in exchange for Tyson Barrie, Reed Schaefer, a 2023 first-round pick, and a 2024 first-round pick. And my first reaction to this trade is that the Oilers overpaid on this a lot to get Mattias Ekholm. I think the Predators are laughing right now on the 2 trades that they've made between the Edmonton Oilers and the Tampa Bay Lightning, getting a ton of picks back, as well as a guy in Tyson Barrie who still has a powerhouse of a shot and can work and quarterback the power play. So I think for the Nashville Predators, they're still not out of the race for a playoff spot, but they're getting better for their future as well. I think the Oilers overpaid on this first trade for Mattias Ekholm.
David Poile this is what he does. It doesn't even matter that he's stepping down. It's almost like it's fired him up to set his franchise up for
Yes.
even more success down the stretch. That's what it sounds like to me. And honestly, covering this league as closely as I have over the last number of years, that might be the most David Poile-esque thing I have ever heard. And you know what, Steele? I understand the move from an Edmonton Oilers perspective, and Ken Holland, he's got to do something. And while I think it's an overpay, does it improve the team defensively? Yes, but I didn't think they were going to have to give up Tyson Barrie. That was my first reaction. And say what you will about Tyson Barrie, he does have that effective offensive side to his game. And I really didn't think that they were going to have to give him up. That is a hefty price to pay for Ekholm. I'll say this, though, very quickly as well. After entering the league and he played 62 games in his rookie year, he has only had a plus-minus register under 0 one time, and it was -1. This is a very stingy defenseman who is a very reliable back-end piece, and it's good for the Edmonton Oilers if, Steele, they can do something else with it and bring in another piece that can play D. I don't know. I would have loved to honestly see Erik Karlsson in an Edmonton Oilers jersey. That would have been fun to package his ability to feed the puck around and quarterback the power play. I think they need to add another piece. I don't know if this has any fantasy value at all, Steele, but if Mattias Ekholm is going to get any looks around that power play, he might be worth a good fill-in down the stretch here, and I got to guarantee he's probably out there in a lot of formats.
Yeah, I think if anything, it kind of hinders and hurts Tyson Barrie's fantasy value going to the Nashville Predators.
Huge.
Difficult to score goals for them, so it's going to hurt his fantasy value moving forward because obviously playing with Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, you're going to get a ton of points on the power play. But you're right. I think they're definitely going to have to address again the blue line still. Like you've got Darnell Nurse and Mattias Ekholm as the first pair D, but then you got Brett Kulak, Cody Ceci, Broberg, and Evan Bouchard for the bottom four. I just don't think it works out. I still don't think that their defense are strong enough.
You know what, Steele? I agree with you, and sorry to interject. What's very interesting is Mattias Ekholm has a $6.25 million cap hit. Yeah. That might be indicative of how quality he can be. And I think, you're just putting a lot of pressure, though, on a move for the Edmonton Oilers. Like, if this is all that they do, again, I think if you're Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, I don't think you're really impressed with it. I know I'm trying to push that narrative, but I think it's true, man. I don't know. They're going to need another move. Do you agree with me there? I think they need another piece.
They definitely are going to have to make another move. It's definitely not the last move or the only move because they've also traded away Jesse Puljujarvi earlier on in the day to the Carolina Hurricanes. Right. And you and I were just talking about this as well. Like, to me, it didn't make any sense for the Hurricanes to make any moves. They were already one of the best teams, top 2 team in the league without Max Pacioretty, the guy they got in the offseason. I didn't see them having to make another move. I really don't understand this from the Hurricanes. You go out and get a guy who's getting paid $3 million, who has 14 points in 58 games, playing with the 2 best players in the world right now, and he still can't produce. And I'm looking at this for the future as well. You already have so many young players on the team, a couple of young players who are still unproven and inconsistent. And now you're just adding another one on top of that. So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think this puts a ton of pressure on Sebastian Aho and Andrei Svechnikov come playoff time because they're going to have to carry the load of the offense because you can't trust guys like Jesper Kotkaniemi and Jesse Puljujarvi. And I'm even going to throw Seth Jarvis in there in the mix when it comes to playoff time because of the young players that are inconsistent. So they're still a great team, still one of the best in the league. I just don't understand the move. Maybe it doesn't hurt them. Maybe it does. Maybe it does hurt them. Not sure yet, but we'll have to see come playoff time.
I don't always like giving credit to on-air analysts because I think you and I do enough job of giving the fantasy and hockey breakdown takes our own. But Jeff O'Neill on Overdrive today made a good point and maybe I don't think this is obviously the only point, but Sebastian Aho, Patrick Laine, and Jesse Puljujarvi played together on a junior team for the Finnish squad, and they absolutely destroyed people. And there was some very good chemistry between Puljujarvi and Aho. If that's what they're trying to recreate, maybe. But that might be the only one. And I think we're grasping at straws even with that steal. That might be a stretch for me. So I'm with you. And again, this Edmonton Oilers team, I was thinking about, and this episode is going long, people, so thanks for riding with us. We're going to get to big-time bets. Make sure you hold us down over the next couple of days because the NHL is wild, and we are here for all of it. But I was thinking about this the other day, Steele, and I might be off on a tangent. This Edmonton Oilers team has had so many opportunities from draft picks to trades to otherwise to put a winning team around the two best players in the NHL. Production-wise, Leon Draisaitl is right there with McDavid. We're not going there. I'm just saying, if they somehow manage to only go out there and overpay for Mattias Ekholm, and that's the only move they make, I like Ken Holland as a front office executive, but I got to start throwing question marks at this whole franchise because it's just mediocrity, Steele. And I know they were where they were in the playoffs last year, but this is just starting to get a little bit embarrassing. And we're going to talk about embarrassing because a team that has a bunch of first-round exits is next on the topic sheet right here.
Yeah, again, I just don't agree with the Mattias Ekholm trade. I think they overpaid, and I'm not sure how it really helps them on the blue line, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see if it helps get them down the road to another Western Conference Finals and hopefully a Stanley Cup Finals. We are going to get to big time bets. We are going to come back from break and start off with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the handful of trades they've made as well. But this episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back in your account if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, and it's super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and threes drained. I'm keeping my eyes locked and loaded on the Milwaukee Bucks this upcoming week, currently on a 14-game winning streak. So I'm hitting on the heavy favorites. And so many more exclusive bets like a 2x3, which is 2 3-pointers scored in the first 3 minutes. You can literally bet on anything you want. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your first no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
This is David Harrison from the Locked On Commanders podcast, and this episode is brought to you by US Cellular. At US Cellular, they know phones are great, but they're not always great for us. Sure, they connect us to so much, but they also distract us from, well, us. The us that actually laughs out loud with each other instead of just texting it, that knows being in the same room doesn't always mean being together. So let's find us again by putting our phones down for 5 days, 5 hours, even 5 minutes. Join US Cellular in the Phones Down for 5 challenge. Find out more at uscellular.com/find us.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We appreciate all the love, all the support. Make sure you hit the sub, hit the follow button. We appreciate all the support, and thank you guys so much for tuning in for today's episode. Lots we've already discussed. We've talked about the Patrick Kane trade. We've talked about many trades so far today. The Edmonton Oilers, Carolina Hurricanes. Before we get to Toronto, just real quickly, you mentioned this before we hopped on here. The Minnesota Wild also acquired Marcus Johansson from the Washington Capitals in exchange for a 4th-round pick, I believe. 4th-round pick going back to Washington. So that's one trade from Minnesota. But the Toronto Maple Leafs keep flying out of the gates back-to-back days. They actually said 3 trades back-to-back before any team could get in there. First trade of the day. Toronto Maple Leafs acquire Eric Gustafsson and a 1st-round pick in exchange for Rasmus Sandin. 20 minutes later, Toronto Maple Leafs acquire a 2024 3rd-round pick in exchange for Pierre Engvall from the New York Islanders. And right after that, the Toronto Maple Leafs acquire, drumroll please, Luke Schenn from the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for a 2023 3rd-round pick. So much to digest right now. Getting absolutely loaded on the blue line. I couldn't be more in love with Kyle Dubas right now. He is I am his number one fan at the moment. He's getting the job done. He's setting up the path to the Stanley Cup, to perfection for the Toronto Maple Leafs. A lot to digest, Flip, but the first thing I want to say right out the gate is, after I've seen all three of these trades, is at this point in time, you cannot blame the front office or Kyle Dubas for anything that happens in the first round for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's done everything possible to get this team to win the Stanley Cup this season. At this point in time, if the Leafs do not make it out of the first round, that is solely on the players. It is all their fault if they can't get the job done.
Steele, I know I come on this show a lot and tell you that you're doing a good job and that I feel your takes and blah, blah, blah. That's spot on. It's now on the players. And maybe in the last couple of years, and not maybe, you can say that the front office did not maybe do enough. And yes, is the pressure clearly on Kyle Dubas? He's on the hot seat, contract and otherwise, performance. Now this team has been given the tools, and I think, Steele, they're not done. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about when we talk about this situation. I like what is happening with the Toronto Maple Leafs team.
Yeah.
And look, am I biased because I am a Leafs fan and I want to see this team win? I'm biased that I want to see this team win, but I'm not blind to what moves are being made. And I actually like the balance and the patience that Kyle Dubas has shown with these moves. And I don't know about you, Steele, but looking at that bottom six now in Toronto, I can't remember a time where I've been as confident with a head coach, whatever head coach it is, rolling 4 lines in the playoffs. I'm comfortable now with whatever line is thrown out there. The crazy thing is, and I think this is where we need to go to next, is just how good is this Eastern Conference? As Toronto Maple Leafs fans, are you kidding me? We haven't even talked about the Boston Bruins, who are on a historic pace. And you got the New Jersey Devils loading up. You got the Rangers loading up. You even have the Islanders who are sitting there on the cusp. And we know we have the injury blow to Matt Barzal. But oh my goodness, I need the puck to drop on the playoffs, my friend. And I think you and I can agree on the moves that the Maple Leafs have made. Say what you will about their postseason lack of success. They have never been better positioned to go on a deep run. They have a balanced unit, and now it just feels a little different in Toronto, and they're playing a different brand of hockey. Let's see what they can do come first round.
After everything that has happened today, there's so much to digest again. First thing that comes off the top of my mind is, besides the Colorado Avalanche, there's no team in the Western Conference that I'm scared of to win a Stanley Cup now.
I'm with you.
Colorado Avalanche are the only team that I would put money on to win the Stanley Cup. I'm as confident as saying that after everything that's happened today, over the next decade, I'm going to say 90% of Stanley Cup winners come from the Eastern Conference. That's how certain I am and how strong I am of the Eastern Conference for the future and what it looks like after today. Second, absolutely stacked. Second thing is, actually, with this, the one trade, the Toronto Maple Leafs and New York Islanders, I actually kind of like this for the New York Islanders as they acquire Pierre Engvall. I've been fairly impressed with his play this year. Again, I think it helps their bottom six. He's a bottom six forward, but he's been fairly impressive. He's shooting the puck more. He doesn't look as goofy anymore.
Going to get a good opportunity.
And skating. He's going to get a good opportunity with the Islanders. So I respect the trade and Pierre Engvall going there. I actually really like Luke Schenn coming back to the Toronto Maple Leafs and the physicality and grit that he brings, which obviously the Leafs need. But back to what you said again, the third and final thing about this Toronto Maple Leafs time, and I think I said this a couple of days ago after the Achari trade, I haven't seen all 4 lines look this good in a long time. Bunting, Matthews, and Marner on the first, Tavares, O'Reilly, and Nylander on the second, Kerfoot, Camp, and Yarncroke on the third, and then Zach Aston Reese, Noel Acciari, and Sam Lafferty on the fourth. It looks phenomenal, all 4 lines, and then even going down to the blue line.
What was the fourth line, though, Steele? Sorry to interrupt. What was the
Zach Aston Reese, Noel Acciari, and Sam Lafferty? Because right now on Daily Faceoff, Pierre Engvall is still in the lineup for the Leafs. But
those are going to shift around. You know what I see, honestly, because going up against a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning and having their depth up the middle, Ryan O'Reilly, to me, is going to slot to that third line center. They're going to push Kampf down to that fourth line center.
Exactly, and that's the thing. They're still figuring
They have so
things
many
out
options
right now.
now.
Yeah. They're still figuring things out right now.
I'm so fired up, man. There is just so much going on. This is prime time for the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. So keep it tapped right here. And yeah, my bad for keep cutting you off. So
you're all good.
exciting.
Hey, man,
really
we're both excited right now. Super, super excited about the Toronto Maple Leafs and the postseason coming up. Again, all the teams in the Eastern Conference look absolutely deadly. Not sure anything is possible at this point. It's going to be a blood battle in the Eastern Conference. To get to the Eastern Conference Finals and the Stanley Cup Finals. Let's get over to big time bets, though. A lot of teams that we've just talked about for big time bets on Wednesday. I'll start us off. I'm going to go with the Rangers on the puck line against the Philadelphia Flyers. I absolutely love this pick. The Flyers have been pretty bad recently. Patrick Kane's probably going to make his debut as a Rangers as well. Him and Panarin have that chemistry. I feel Rangers puck line. I think Shesterkin is going to regroup, refocus, and be focused enough going into the postseason. That's my first pick, Rangers puck line against the Philadelphia Flyers.
3 games of the last 3 games between these two clubs, Steele, the New York Rangers have had their way with the Philadelphia Flyers. A 4-0 win, a 6-3 win, and a 1-0 shutout that could have easily been 2 or 3. I love that puck line bet. The New York Rangers have also taken points in 8 of 10 against the Philadelphia Flyers. And it's been a little while. I know I've been on a heater looking at this board, Steele. Looking at this board, 6-game board. I had a couple of other picks, and my honorable mention is the under in the Vegas Golden Knights at the Carolina Hurricanes. Both teams have been involved in a lot of low-scoring, close games over the last couple for each of them. That's my honorable mention sidebar bet. The toast of the games on this evening, Wednesday evening, is no disrespect to New Jersey Devils and Colorado Avalanche. This Toronto Maple Leafs Edmonton Oilers game is going to be one to watch. And I got a big flip triple dip for it, baby. And let me just fire off all 3. I got the notes right here, Steele. Hang with me, brother. Maple Leafs at the Edmonton Oilers. Let me bring this up real quick because I remember it being very advantageous for the boys in blue and white. Oh, wait, Steele. Last 10 games. The Toronto Maple Leafs have points in 10 of 10, including 8 wins in their last 10 games against the Edmonton Oilers. They play very well against these Oilers, and I will take them on the money line, minus 121, my first bet. My second bet, not the lock of the night. I'm going to get there in a second. I'm feeling the under here because I think both teams loading up. Both teams are about to get very serious about the playoffs, and I think this Edmonton Oilers team needs a measuring stick-type game. You know I like to say that at this time of year, Steele, but for real, this is one of them. Both of these teams need to know what they do against the other to stack up going to the playoffs. I think that's under 6.5. Tease it up a little bit if you want, people, because right now at 6.5, you're getting plus money. I could see it plus 7.5 I love that. Lock of the night, Steele. Something about these matchups between big-time players brings out the best in them. And I'm talking about Austin Matthews. I have to, man. In 15 career games against Edmonton Oilers, 10 goals, 5 assists, point per game player. I think he has another big night. He came out of his shell a little bit the other night with 2 Genos. 2 goals, right, for Matthews the other night?
Yeah. 1 or 2. Yeah, he scored the last 2.
Thank you very much. He gets another one. My lock of the night. You're going to get some pretty good money on that. Parlay them together on FanDuel with a same game parlay, going for that big flip triple dip. And honestly, Steele, I think this is going to be a really fun game to watch, and one that the Austin Matthews train is going to run heavy through this Edmonton Oilers defense.
Well, I like 2 of your bets, so I'm not there with the flip triple dip because
you don't like the under.
I'm taking the over 6.5 goals.
Yeah,
for my
I knew
lock
you
of
were
the
going to
night.
say that.
I think with everything that's going on,
I get it, though. I get it.
I think we are going to see a big battle of a game, but I think we're going to see a ton of goals because we're talking about probably 5 of like the best players in the NHL right now on either team. Yeah, so that's my lock of the night. My second pick. Look, it could be an under, could be an over 6.5.
Your lock of the night is the over.
My lock of the night is the over.
Another side bet.
Another side bet, my second pick, I'm taking the Avalanche on the money line against the New Jersey Devils. They've just been the better team recently. But again, Rangers puck line, Avalanche money line, and Maple Leafs over 6.5. I'm taking the puck line, money line, and over. Those are the 3 picks. Flips, triple dip, Leafs money line, Austin Matthews anytime goal, and under 6.5 in the Oilers-Leafs game. Those are the big-time bets. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your second listen, though, check out Game to Game. Every moment, every performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NHL with local analysis from Locked On hosts that only Locked On can deliver. And again, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.
The midway point of the NBA season is here, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. You can bet on anything from the money line to point scores to three-pointers drained. Don't miss the chance right now to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Did you watch every NHL game last night? Of course not. That's impossible. So Locked On brings you Locked On Game to Game NHL. With Locked On Game to Game NHL, we take you inside every arena to every game and give you the Locked On local experts insight. And by the end, it's as though you were at every game. Find Locked On Game to Game NHL on the Locked On NHL feed and follow today. Locked On Game to Game NHL, taking you to every arena for every game with the local experts. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Walker Mayo, one of the local hosts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Instead of hearing me right now, we could be talking about your business and helping you reach local, passionate sports fans just like yourself. Unlike any other podcast, Locked On gives your local company the unique ability to reach local podcast listeners. If your business wants to connect with local sports fans that are well-educated with disposable income, then let's put your company right here on this Locked On podcast. Local fans love to support local businesses. Text the word advertising to 33777 or visit lockedonpodcast.com/advertising and let us know who you are. Our team will assist you to achieve advertising success with Locked On. Once again, text the word advertising to 33777 or visit lockedonpodcast.com/advertising. We look forward to hearing from you.